Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today, maybe I want to start a new series and I would call it Tuesday Stock Takes. If you have a better name, let me know in the comments below. But basically, the idea is to have a very quick review of any given stock that particular week, every Tuesday most likely, and then obviously just give you a rundown, give you my thoughts on that stock, whether I think it's worth to invest or not. Yeah, hopefully you like it. If you do, let me know in the comments. I'll make more of those. If not, that's also fine. And we'll do something else in the future. But anyway, today I actually want to kick it off with Spotify. And you may ask yourself, why Spotify of all the companies out there? Well, I'll tell you why. Because I got that lovely email yesterday in which they informed me that they're going to be increasing my monthly Spotify charges. Well, it's just €1. And luckily, living in Lithuania, my charges are less than, I think, other parts of Europe. So it depends where you live and where you sign up. So actually, to be honest, now it's going to be €8 a month, which I think is still very reasonable for what it offers, and I love the software. But I thought it might be a good starting point, kick the series off and also see, is there going to be a ripple effect onto the future membership growth in revenues for Spotify? Because we've seen a similar thing. After Netflix cracked down on the password sharing, more users had to sign up to the accounts and actually the earnings did very well. So let's have a look and jump right in. But yeah, basically just to reconfirm, I'm not alone. Obviously, that has been going on since yesterday. Across the world, basically in most places for their premium plans, they've been increasing it across the world in over 50 countries. So most likely, if you're a Spotify user, you're going to be affected by that as well. But of course, Spotify is not alone. We can also see YouTube Premium recently having increased their prices, as well as Netflix and other players. So I think it's a common trend that a lot of those streaming providers are increasing prices. And I think it's natural, right? Costs are also increasing. I mean, when we look at inflation around the world. So I think it's understandable from that point of view. But let's have a look how that translates into actual stock value for investors. So when we head over to Seeking Alpha, which is one of my favorite stock research tools, and if you haven't tried it out yet, then please use my link in the description below and you're going to get a 14-day free trial to check it out and see if you like it. Right, so when we look at Spotify year to date, so since the beginning of the year, actually it has been doing extremely well. I mean, it grew by almost 100%, pretty much. I mean, that's a very, very nice development over there, obviously. Really good to see. So when you look at it from the outside, you would think, wow, what a stock to invest in. And maybe that growth story will continue, especially now with the price hike. Maybe that will translate into higher revenues, etc. So that's really tempting to see. And even when we look at the whole year, still almost 50% growth, really good to see. When we look at the 5-year period, which is since around summer of 2018, actually Spotify lost 12%. I mean, that's mind-boggling. If you invested 5 years ago, 5 years later, you actually lost money. I mean, that's just for me so sad to see and really not encouraging me to invest my money into the company. And one thing we have to say here as well, of course, Spotify right now, as they're still technically in the growth phase, they're not paying any dividend. So the price appreciation in what you get is the only return you get as a shareholder of the company. Right now, they have a market cap of $33 billion, which makes them the 595th most valuable company in the world. And of course, Spotify comes from Sweden. So when we look at the most valuable companies in Europe, actually Spotify sits in 85th position. Right, in terms of short interest, actually it's not too bad, only 1.48%. I've seen companies with way higher short interest, basically people betting against the company. So that's really not too bad and doesn't really worry me that much. Now, when we look at the revenues, which is obviously the first thing we want to look at in any company, because you want to see growing revenues, right? Some companies, they keep the revenues stable, but then they grow the profits, meaning they cut costs. That's one way to grow your profitability, but I don't think it's sustainable. To have a sustainable growth in a company, you do want to be growing your revenues. And that has actually happened with Spotify over the years. When we see here the last couple of quarters, most of the quarters, they actually grew their revenues. And honestly, now with the upcoming changes in their pricing, I only see that number going up. Because honestly, I don't think that people will now all of a sudden, because of 1, 2, 3 euros, stop their subscription with Spotify and change to another supplier, because it's going to be so much headache to transfer to another provider. I thought about it myself so many times. I'm an Apple fanboy. I have everything from Apple. And of course, I was thinking about Apple Music. But honestly, I have all my playlists and saved and liked songs with Spotify. It would just be too much of a headache. So I'm sticking with Spotify. And I think a lot of other people will do as well. But the only benefit is the higher prices. So I think revenue side, they really have very much under control. I mean, last year they made $12.5 billion revenue. I mean, it's a nice number to have in terms of income, right? However, here is the worrying part. And that's the profitability. As you can see over here, since 2016, basically, since they started, they haven't been profitable a single year. Despite this huge income revenue generation that they're doing, they're still not managing to be profitable. Because obviously, a lot of their expenses are going to all the music labels, which are, earning money from licensing deals, etc. So that's really painful. Now they started investing heavily into podcasts, which honestly, we're yet to see to really pay off. But in that way, honestly, when I look at it, it's really struggling. And for me personally, I really find it difficult to invest into a company that basically after so many years still is not generating a profit, because ultimately any business is in the business of generating profits, not just revenue, right? It's the same for you and me. I mean, we can earn 20,000 euros a month, but if our costs and our debts and what have you, rents and all lifestyle costs 30,000, that's just not sustainable, because you'll be losing every single month some money, and that's just not sustainable. So when I look at this, for me, that's really worrying, and I think that's also a reflection why the share price has not been doing too well. Moreover, if we compare to the S&P 500, while Spotify actually lost 12.83%, the S&P 500 grew by 61%. So once again, just showing that they're really underperforming the market, not just losing money, but also underperforming the market really strongly. If we head over to Trading 212, which is a broker I recently added to my list of brokers, which I really enjoy. And if you haven't tried them yet, then you can sign up with my link in the description below and get a free share valued up to 100 euros. So definitely nothing to lose, commission free, really great broker. So if we go over here and have a look at Spotify, you can once again see quite a few key ratios, and even the EPS, the earnings per share, is negative, because once again, they're not actually having earnings, but they're generating losses. So that's why it's a negative. That's really discouraging to see. Normally, when I have a positive EPS, they have a negative one. There's no dividend yield because they're not paying any dividend. How could they? They're actually losing money, so they have no money to pay any dividends. Here, just another graph to visualize, the amount of money that they're losing. I mean, when you look at the evolution of the revenues, once again, amazing. $11.3 billion of revenue, and you still generate a net loss of 430 million. I mean, it just breaks my heart to see that. Now, the same was true with Tesla in the beginning, right? But they quickly scaled up, ramped up production, and now they're profitable. We're yet to see that from Spotify, and I honestly don't know when that ever will be the case. The same is true when we look at the cash flow statement overall. Obviously, they're investing a lot, but we're yet to see the return on that. We see the return on revenue, but the return in terms of profitability is yet to be seen. And honestly, I think it's way too long already, for so many years, that they still haven't produced a profit. Honestly, you can see by now that I'm really not excited about investing in Spotify. Moreover, competition is also heating up for Spotify, because the biggest competitor to Spotify is actually not even Apple Music, even though a lot of people who use Apple devices might use Apple Music, but even more so, it's going to be TikTok, because all the young people, obviously, they're on TikTok. And when you see any trending video, usually it has a sound underneath it, and then people look for the sound, and that sound, there's songs that really start going viral on TikTok, and then people go to Spotify to listen to the song. But now, actually, TikTok, being smart as they are, they're gonna come up with their own streaming service in the future. So imagine if you get a free streaming service with TikTok, which might have the occasional ad in between, or even a paid service. But I think TikTok might be a huge competitor and threat to the future of Spotify. And honestly, I don't know what else Spotify can do about it, because honestly, the product is amazing. It works seamlessly with all my devices. I can stream it throughout my smart home. I love it. The only thing what I don't use it for is podcasts. I love podcasts, but honestly, I find it a little bit cumbersome if I listen to a nice playlist on Spotify and then I have to switch back to my podcast. It's a little bit confusing because it doesn't save the track where I saved it last. So I don't find it the best setup for that. I have a separate podcasting app. But for music, I think they do an exceptional job. I just don't know when they ever will enter profitability, or what else they need. Are they going to have to hit 100 billion in revenue to be profitable? So yeah, as an investor, I really don't see when I'm going to get a return on my investment. And that's why for me personally, it's definitely not an investment I will be making at this stage. But you, on the other hand, might have a different point of view and see some things that I might have missed in my analysis. If you do, please let me know in the description below. Always happy to exchange some thoughts with you. I hope you enjoyed this kind of format. If you did, please give the video a like so I know I'm going to be making more of this in the future. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, then please do so more people get to see the content. Guys, I appreciate you for watching. Next up, check out this video over here. As always, stay healthy, get wealthy, and I see you in the next one. Ciao.